I sent the message just after takeoff. It wasn't dramatic. No punctuation, no emojis. Just a simple note in the family group chat. Flight lands at 3 p.m. Can someone pick me up? I had just buried my husband. A military funeral overseas, folded flag, a 21-gun salute, and a casket that somehow felt heavier than anything I'd ever known, even though I wasn't the one carrying it. We'd been married for years. Most of those spent separated by deployments. Military schedules don't make exceptions for anniversaries. But love doesn't keep a ledger. So I wasn't asking for much. Just a ride home. The reply came before we'd even reached cruising altitude. My brother, Daniel. We're busy. Try Uber. 2 minutes later, my mom, Linda. Why didn't you plan better? No, how was the funeral? No, we're sorry. No, we're proud of him. Just cold, clean answers. I sat by the window, watching the plane rise above the clouds. And in that moment, what I felt wasn't grief. It was clarity. You grow up thinking family holds you. But sometimes, they're the ones holding the knife. So I sent one final message. No worries. That was it. No guilt trip. No confrontation. Just silence. When we landed, I didn't cry. I didn't wait. I pulled my coat tighter, walked past the baggage claim, past people embracing their loved ones, and stepped into a black SUV already parked at the curb. Because while they were busy judging, they had no idea who else had flown back with me. No clue what I'd brought with me from the base, or who was waiting behind the headlines. That night, I didn't text again. I didn't post anything. But when the 9 o'clock news aired and their phones lit up with live footage, I know they saw it. I know forks were dropped. I know my mother's wine glass shattered against the tile. And I know one thing for sure. They will never forget what happened next. The clip was under a minute. But it didn't need to be longer. Evening news. Mid-broadcast. Right after the weather. Before the sports segment. The anchor's voice was calm and practiced, delivering news with that steady tone meant to soften both tragedy and triumph. Today, a widow returned home from her husband's overseas military burial, alone, but not unnoticed. Then came the footage. The black SUV pulling up to the terminal. Me stepping out, still dressed in black, a folded flag pressed to my chest. And behind me, 3 Marines. 2 women, 1 man, full dress uniform, back straight, eyes forward. They didn't just escort me. They stood behind me like a wall. Still, strong, unshakable. The camera zoomed in as I turned and handed one of them a small box, tied with a white ribbon. The anchor continued. In an unexpected moment of tribute, the widow was met not by family, but by members of her late husband's unit. A military-led escort, personally arranged by his commanding officers. Though she declined interviews, she left behind one handwritten note. Then the screen filled with it. My handwriting. My words. Simple and steady. If you ever find yourself standing alone at the edge of grief, don't look for the ones who left you there. Look for those who show up anyway. ORM. They didn't have to say my full name. Everyone in that group chat knew exactly who they were watching. The final shot zoomed out. Me walking away between 2 Marines, shoulders back, head high, flag still in hand, into the black SUV. No breakdown. No press statement. No plea for attention. Just the truth. Broadcast on every major channel. And across the city, in living rooms, at dining tables, phones were dropped. Conversations stopped. Silence filled the spaces they thought were safe from consequence. They sent a message. So did I. For 24 hours, the group chat stayed silent. No responses. No apologies. Not even a "just saw the news." But silence has a language. And theirs was starting to speak volumes. My sister-in-law, Heather, messaged privately. Was that you on Channel 5? I didn't answer. She didn't ask again. But the image was spreading. Me, flanked by Marines, wrapped in grief but standing like a statue. It was everywhere. Online, in articles, shared by strangers who didn't know my name but felt my message. Behind the scenes, the same family who left me stranded scrambled to rewrite the narrative. My mom tried first. She posted an old photo. Daniel and me at maybe 7 or 8, holding hands at a 4th of July parade. Captioned, "Family above all. Always." I didn't like it. Didn't comment. Didn't need to. Because the top comment was from someone else. "You didn't even pick her up from the airport." That comment got shared. Then shared again. Not by me, but by people who still believe loyalty should go both ways. Then it was Daniel's turn. He sent me a text. One line. "Didn't realize it was that serious. You should have said something." I read it twice. Then laughed. As if grief sends out save the dates. As if burying my husband in a country they can't even pronounce was something I should have scheduled better. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally, I just sent. "You made your choice. So did I." No anger. No punctuation. Just a mirror. And the best part? I didn't have to say anything else. Because the media had already called again. They wanted a follow-up segment. This time, they didn't want me to just walk. They wanted me to speak. They wanted the story. And I planned to tell it. I hadn't wanted to at first. I didn't plan on speaking. But silence has a way of protecting the wrong people. So when the producer asked if I'd be willing to share a widow's voice, I said yes. Not for sympathy. Not for attention. For truth. The interview was quiet. No flashing lights. Just me, the anchor, a mic, and a camera. He asked his first question gently. "What happened when you landed?" I took a deep breath. Then finally said the words I'd been holding in my chest for days. I laid my husband to rest with honor. And returned to silence. The studio was still. Even the cameraman stopped moving. I told them everything. About the message I sent. Just one. The cold responses I received. Colder than the wind outside that airport terminal. And how no one from my family showed up. But uniformed strangers did. They didn't need reminders. They understood what it meant to show up. I didn't name names. I didn't shame anyone. But I did say this. Blood doesn't make someone family. Presence does. The segment aired that night. Prime time. 6 minutes. One camera. No music. No dramatic cuts. Just me, steady, raw, and real. The response was immediate. Strangers began to reach out. Veterans. Widows. People who had also come home to empty driveways and silent houses. But in the group chat, that silence was something else. My mother, Linda, quietly left it. No message. No explanation. Daniel, my brother, changed its name from Family Sparkling Heart to simply Group. And me? I archived it. Because once you've been left alone in your worst moment, you stop begging people to become what they should have been all along. This wasn't revenge. It was record. And now it was out of their hands. It started small. A letter in my mailbox. No return address. Just neat, careful handwriting. Inside. I saw you on the news. My husband never made it back. You made me feel less alone. Then it grew. Veterans groups started sharing the clip. A Gold Star Mothers page reposted the full segment. A military spouse network reached out, offering support, flowers, check-ins. The kind of care I hadn't asked for, but suddenly realized I needed. Then came the candlelight vigil. Strangers organized it. Dozens attended. People I'd never met. People who understood what a folded flag weighs in your arms. I stood in the back. Hoodie up. Eyes wide. They weren't grieving with me. They were standing for me. For every person who ever waited alone at an airport curb when they should have been met with open arms. Someone started singing softly. A girl. Maybe 16. Her voice cracked as she sang. "I'll carry you home." I nearly broke. Almost. Then I saw him. Daniel. Standing at the edge of the crowd. Hands shoved in his pockets. Head low. He didn't speak. He didn't come over. But he saw everything. He saw what it looked like when strangers did what family didn't. He saw what it meant to be carried. Not by blood, but by a community. The next morning, I got a text. No greeting. Just didn't think it'd get this big. I stared at the screen for a while. Thought about everything I could say. Then typed. That's the thing about grief. It either builds walls or builds bridges. You picked your side. No reply. That was fine. Because this story? It wasn't for him anymore. It was for the ones watching. The ones whispering me too. The ones who needed to know that dignity can still rise where disappointment used to live. Weeks passed. The letters didn't stop. Neither did the flowers on my porch. But something in me shifted. I didn't want to just be a story. I wanted to build something. So I did. It started with a name. The Welcome Project. A non-profit for military spouses returning home alone. We offered airport pickups, meal trains, support teams. Not sympathy, support. The kind that shows up. Word spread quickly. Volunteers signed up from 5 different states in the first 3 days. One woman donated a van. Another offered her event space, free of charge. By the second week, our first welcome team was standing at JFK, holding a sign that read, "We've got you." Someone snapped a photo. It went viral. Suddenly, the Welcome Project was in newspapers, on podcasts. And guess who called? My mom. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. Her voice cracked by the second sentence. I didn't know how to help. I didn't think you'd want us there. I listened. Then I deleted it. I didn't delete the voicemail out of anger. I deleted it out of peace. Because I didn't need it anymore. Some wounds don't close when someone apologizes. They heal when you stop bleeding for people who stood by and watched you drown. Daniel messaged again. Just a receipt. A small, anonymous donation to the Welcome Project. I knew it was from him. But I didn't respond. Because this wasn't about guilt. It was about truth, the kind that builds vans and care kits. The kind that holds signs at arrival gates when no one else shows up. Sometimes, you don't need to burn bridges. You just build better ones. Somewhere else. And when people ask me what started it all, this movement, this mission, I smile and say, a flight that landed at 3 p.m., and no one came. They called it a quiet revolution. The article made the front page. A photo of me at one of our welcome events, arms wrapped around a young woman holding a folded flag, eyes swollen, smile trembling. The caption read, "From grief to ground crew. How one widow changed what it means to come home." The day it was published, I got a text from an unknown number. No words. Just a screenshot of the article. I recognized the number. It was my mother's. Later that evening, I was invited to speak at a local memorial service for military families. Not a speech. Just a story. I stood at the podium. The air was heavy with candlelight and wind. Dozens of faces looked up, some proud, some broken, but all listening. I shared what had happened. Not with bitterness. No blame. No names. I said, I came home alone. But I didn't stay that way. Then I talked about Liam. His laugh. His letters. The way he once told me, if anything ever happens to me, don't let silence win. And I hadn't. After I stepped down, a woman in pearls touched my arm. Her eyes were wet. My daughter. She was on your first welcome pickup. You saved her. I shook her hand tightly, like that single moment said everything it needed to. Then in the distance I saw them. My mother. My brother. They stood near a tree at the edge of the crowd. Unannounced. Uninvited. They didn't wave. They didn't come forward. They just watched. And I let them. No smile. No words. Just the space between us. Filled with everything they never said. Because sometimes, punishment isn't rage. It's silence. It's being replaced. It's standing on the outside, watching strangers clap for the daughter you couldn't be bothered to meet at the gate. For a long time, I believed closure came in the form of an apology. A call. A text. That long-awaited moment when the people who hurt you finally say what they should have said when it counted. But it didn't come like that. It came one quiet evening in my kitchen. I was folding a Welcome Project t-shirt into a care kit for a widow I had never met. The house was calm. No group chats. No waiting for a reply. No looking at my phone hoping someone would say, "We're here." Because now, I was the one showing up. And I was never alone. The doorbell rang. A volunteer, young, newly married, both she and her partner former military, dropping off supplies. She hugged me like we'd known each other our whole lives. And I realized, we had. Not in the way family knows you, but in the way truth does. In the way people who survive silence somehow find one another. I never replied to my mom's last message. Never followed up on Daniel's donation. Never reopened that group chat. Because some people bury you in their silence. And others lift you in theirs. That's what I'll tell the next woman who asks how to survive the loneliness. I'll tell her what I learned sitting alone outside that airport terminal. You don't rebuild by waiting for them. You rebuild by becoming what they weren't. And one day, while they're watching from the sidelines, when their phones light up with headlines you never sent directly, when strangers chant your name, and they realize your story no longer includes theirs, they'll understand. Too late, but they'll understand. And you? You'll already be walking forward. Not alone. Never again.